Hello, everyone. This is Amir. I'm VP of Product and Marketing at Opsani, and it's my pleasure to introduce Amanda Summers to you. Amanda is the Director of Sales at Opsani. She comes to us from AWS and is very familiar with cloud workloads. So without further ado, please welcome Amanda.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon.
Today, Amanda is going to talk about the value that Opsani creates for enterprises and how we fit in their current workload and their transition to more cloud-native, automated data centers.
Thank you, Amir. I'm really excited to be here this afternoon to talk with you guys about how we're doing autonomous workload tuning at scale here at Opsani. And to give a little bit more about my background is that I spent the last couple of years working with digitally native businesses and those software companies that were looking to migrate from on-prem into the cloud, be able to put their whole cost optimization strategy in place. And so I spent a lot of time helping to build FinOps organizations internally, how to bring in the right third-party tools to be able to help from a cost and visibility perspective, as well as how to leverage like the pricing agreements from the cloud providers that they're using in order to be able to help drive down the overall cloud spend. And so when I was introduced to Opsani, I got really excited because Opsani is solving and automating a process for manual that is typically done by manual tuning by humans. And it's gotten so complex and it's so difficult that organizations are addressing this. And by implementing Opsani as part of their overall cost optimization strategy, the companies that are working with us are saving a significant amount of money and also seeing a pretty dramatic increase in their application performance. And so today, I'm going to talk about why manual cost and performance tuning is so challenging and why organizations are not doing it today, as well as go into how Opsani is solving for this and getting into our technology, and then talking about how you guys can engage with us on a go-forward basis. So, we take a strong stance at Opsani in saying that manual performance tuning is obsolete. We talk about this whole shift from being an on-prem into the cloud and the cultural shifts that come with it. With the fact that in the past, new code release would happen on a annual basis, sometimes twice a year. So now with our CI/CD pipeline, code release can happen multiple times a day. So there's this velocity that's happening, and it is the norm to over provision to ensure uptime of the application. You also add the complexities of working in either a hybrid or multi-cloud environment. And what we've seen is that application tuning for both cost and performance is happening when two things happen. One, there's a top-down initiative saying that organizations are running too hot and that they need to get their costs under control, which is typical with organizations that are migrating into the cloud or in hypergrowth, or there's a performance issue and you're having to deploy like your top talent to go figure out what's actually happening. And so, today, optimization through performance tuning is reactive in most cases. And because of this, what we're seeing is that organizations have a massive waste of resources, lower availability of the application, and suboptimal performance. So when we look at like how this is being done today, looking at status quo with reactive tuning, we start with the product owners. The product owner is either doing a new release or they're bringing a new product to market. So the developers are coding. And because we live in the age of GitOps, these developers are pulling code from multiple repositories and using the part that works for them based on what they're building for. And then this is in turn, it's helping from a speed, being able to get code to move forward, but it's also resulting in bloated code. So, they get it and they commit it and it gets pushed into the DevOps team. The DevOps team is going to build, test it. They're going to do enterprise application integrations such as ERP or payment systems. Once they've completed those integrations, they, push it to the SRE team, which are going to go into put it in dev. They're going to do testing and pre-production. And then once they've done what they need to do, they're going to push it in production and everything is good until there's a problem and there's a performance lag. And this is where we talk about organizations. If they're large enough, we see organizations have a performance team that they'll deploy to figure out what's going on. If not, they're bringing the platform teams forward to do what they can in order to, fix this issue. So they're using real monitoring tools, they're using synthetic load to see where the choke points are in the application. If they have an APM that they're using, they're doing that to be able to find kind of diagnosis of what's going on and being able to, start to leverage that information. And so what they do as a short-term fix is they're over provisioning to ensure that there's no kind of impact to the end user. And then once they have some information, they're pushing that down to the DevOps team, who are taking that and they're doing like guesstimates and trying to figure out what they need to tweak in order to ensure that this performance issue doesn't happen again. And then once they get more information, they're passing that on to the developers so they can reactively build. And so these developers are using information that is already from the past. And so it's not happening in real time. A lot of times organizations don't even know what actually caused that performance lag. So this is where Opsani comes in from an automation perspective. Your CI/CD pipeline is going to remain the same except for two key changes. And that's where we insert in. The very first one is in the test stage of the CI/CD pipeline. And this allows for organizations to accelerate the whole code release process and be able to shift that left so that when you're getting production, you have optimized code for both performance and cost optimization. And the good thing is that once Opsani finds the optimal configuration, you push it back up into GitOps, and then the developers can use either that version or they can revert back to a previous version so they have complete flexibility. The second place where we insert is in production. And this is where we call our nirvana, and where we like to be, and where we're able to do real-time autonomous configuration changes and resources. We're able to adapt to the load profiles and really be able to help from a cost optimization perspective and be able to do that in real time. We do have the ability to allow organizations to either manually promote the recommendations or also too, when it meets certain parameters and safeguards, that it can autonomously be put into production. And so the benefit to organizations is that by automating this whole process is that they are getting higher performance at a lower cost. So I'd like to talk about like how we actually work with customers. And I want to talk about our partnership with QuickBooks and how we help optimize QuickBooks Online. And QuickBooks is utilized by millions of users globally, and they had a very complex environment running on EC2 instances. They had a varying number of instances per shard, and it was complex with trillions of permutations. And one of the things that I think it's really important to point out is the fact that their performance team, which consisted of 6 really skilled individuals, spent 6 months trying to manually tune this application before Opsani came in and got engaged. And they were doing a couple things. One of the things that was really important to them is to be able to increase user experience, and by decreasing latency by 150 milliseconds across multiple shards. And they also wanted to reduce the garbage collection full events in JVMs, because when this was happening, and it was happening a lot, is that it slowed down the application, increased latency, and it also consumed more CPU, which overall provided a negative customer experience. And so the challenge they had is the fact that there was such inconsistency with code releases, they weren't able to hit either one of those objectives. So through our partnership, we came in and we tuned at multiple levels. The first one is that we looked at the number of instances per shard and at a horizontal level. And then from a vertical level, we looked at EC2 instance types in the family. And then we looked at 5 different Java config parameters, such as garbage collection, intervals, heap sizes, and we also incorporated their SLOs so that we could safely experiment in their environment. And the results were actually quite staggering. We were able to trim their overall AWS bill by 72%. We decreased their latency by 10%. And we were able to recover 5,000 minutes in total uptime. When we talk about the 5x velocity, that team of 6 that I talked about from a performance optimization team was able to go down to 2, and they were able to deploy these highly valuable resources to go and develop code. And their garbage collection full events were decreased by 90%. And Intuit shared with us that after doing this optimization, that they experienced a 10x reduction in pager notifications by leveraging Opsani. So a lot of times customers are asking us about how do we differentiate ourselves in the market, because there's so many cloud optimization tools that are available. And as we look at like the whole cloud journey of organizations that are, establishing itself in the cloud, is that they look at implementing cloud governance tools as well as cost optimization tools to be able to provide more visibility. So with the cloud governance tools, it's helping them do like chargebacks, visibility at the organization level, and being able to help simplify the whole infrastructure management of the cloud. And then with the cost optimization tools, are looking at providing visibility at the top line, and then for each one of the teams, and being able to make recommendations from a utilization perspective. And so I use the example with some of these tools is that, if you're running an AWS at M5 2XL and you're running it at 90%, they're going to make recommendations saying this is a good candidate to be able to put under a AWS savings plan, or AWS reserved instance, depending on the type of service it is. And so it's providing invaluable tools to your teams. And then as technology's evolved, now it's really time for organizations to look at how to automate their whole application optimization for both cost and performance. And so we see that a lot of organizations aren't effectively addressing at this point this portion which can save them quite significantly by leveraging Opsani as part of their overall cost optimization strategy. And so one of the things I will point out here too is that we complement the cloud governance tools and cost optimization tools that are on the market. We have a lot of customers that we've partnered with that are using Cloud Checker and Cloud Health or Cloudability as part of their overall cost optimization strategy. So I also want to touch upon some of our other ecosystem partnerships and integrations. We're agnostic when it comes to the public cloud. We partner with all of them. We integrate in with Slack. Here are the monitoring tools. We do partner with the best of breed in terms of the different APMs that are out there. And we also leverage Envoy for our Kubernetes solution to be able to help pull the metrics. And we can get more into that later through a whole discovery and demo. And then through our partnerships with the CI/CD toolchain, with GitOps, we integrate in with all native forms of Kubernetes, as well as AWS ECS. And we just finished our integration in with Harness, which we're really proud of that partnership. So let's talk about the power of Opsani and how we're automating this whole process. And so we can optimize a single application, or we can go across a whole the service delivery platform. And some of the benefits that come with that is the fact that we have the ability to be able to scale across thousands of services. And especially as organizations, when we get into the fact from a scaling process, that we've automated that. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. And with this the continuous tuning with every code release, every load profile change, or any kind of infrastructure upgrade, organizations are continuing to be able to get higher performance, improving the availability of the application, and lowering the overall cost. And so new code comes in, we're going to discover that, we're going to assign the SLO for that application. The Opsani ML, which is deep learning, is going to measure, learn, and tune, and then it's going to scale predictably. And then that whole measure, learning, and tuning is going to keep on iterating to continue to find the best optimal solution for that application. So our approach to optimization is that we like to start at the resellers level with our customers, because we want to get our customers in the money. And so with our Kubernetes offering, we look at the resource level, optimizing CPU, memory, and replica count. And we find about 80% of the savings at the resource level. And then from a phase 2, we start getting into performance tuning, looking at the runtime environment, middleware, getting into Java parameters and number of threads, depending on the application. With an application, there can be hundreds of different variables that are tunable. And so we work with our customers to make sure that we understand the application and we're putting those parameters into place. And this is a huge differentiator for Opsani, because we're the only one in the market that has the ability to tune across the entire application stack for our customers, as well as the only company that has a Kubernetes offering that can scale across a whole enterprise. So when you look at the platform development solution for our Kubernetes offering, we have our Opsani ML backend that that resides in AWS. And on the customer side, we install a servo and control. And I get into the security around like what consists of the servo and the controller. But what I'll say too is that we easily integrate in our customer's environment, and we can be up and running in a matter of hours, and being able to save our customers money within 24 hours as part of our POC for a single service. And so we integrate in with a customer's APM, and also with our, through the Kubernetes API or through Harness as well. And so essentially what we're doing is that as a new service comes online, we are auto-discovering that, we're onboarding it into the platform, we're setting the SLO, and then we are starting to tune that application. And so we put a tuning pod right here in the namespace, each one, and we have the SLOs and safety guardrails in place to ensure that we're safely tuning within your environment. And like I had mentioned earlier, this can be done in a pre-production environment, or it can be done in production. And our customers have the ability to either manually push recommendations into production, or you can automatically promote them. And like I said, we do have the ability to scale across thousands of applications. So we take security very seriously here at Opsani, and you can see here too, in terms of like our backend machine learning SaaS platform, that any information that is being transmitted from our customer environment over to Opsani is done through the HTTPS port 443, so it is secure. The servo that's in your environment is open source, and all of the metrics that are pushed into our backend is customer defined. And we don't collect any kind of application logs. The only thing we're doing is collecting a subset of the system logs that are relevant to the SLO, which our customers are simplifying what those log parameters are. And if you're interested, please feel free to reach out, and we'll happily give you a security white paper to go into more detail on it. A lot of customers ask, like, how large is this footprint within our environment? It's really small. You can see it's 1/4 of a CPU and 1/4 of a gigabyte of RAM. And in AWS, it's typically a T2 micro. It is open source. We only have read access to the monitoring system, and then the ability to tune instance patching. So I also want to spend a moment too, because I've been talking specifically about our containers offering, and I had mentioned about the fact that we do have the ability to be able to tune across a company's entire infrastructure stack. And we look at like the 3 M's, like, is it an application that matters to your organization? Is it something you guys are spending a significant amount of money on? Are we able to measure it and get access to those APIs to be able to pull the information so we can measure it, and then be able to have the ability to make modifications to that? And so at a high level, here are some of the examples of workloads that we've tuned in the past. This list is not inclusive. Just want to give you an idea of what we have the ability to do. And so that's either like EC2, we've done EMR workloads, we've done database workloads, batch workloads, Elasticsearch and Elasticache, and we've done a lot in Java. And with doing the tweaking within Java, we've been able to help customers significantly be able to save cost and increase overall performance. So a lot of customers wondering, like, how easy is it to get Opsani working in our environment? And through our proof of value and optimizing a single service, is that we're so confident about our service being able to help our customers be able to save money, that we ask our customers to go pick an expensive application that's within your containers environment, and we can get you guys up and running in a matter of minutes and getting your results in less than a day, because we're tuning the whole CPU, memory, and replica count. And then from there, the goal is to use that config file from that POV pattern, and we can deploy it across your whole application, within like a business unit in a matter of minutes, and be able to help you from a continuous tuning and a value delivery. And then the ultimate goal is to get integrated within your service delivery platform, where you can then experience the automatic service discovery, the tuning, and being able to scale that across your whole container platform. So highly recommend you guys set up a time to talk to us, where we can do a deeper discovery into your environment and talk about how we can help you from both a cost and performance optimization. and as well as do a demo so you can see this in action yourself. To start a proof of value with us, like I said, pick a really expensive single service, and the requirements of this is that it has deployment resources for both CPU and memory. It's stateless and has the ability to be restarted. We prefer doing in production so that we can be able to test it across live traffic and be able to have the ability to absorb sidecars. And as I said, we can get this up in a matter of minutes and have you optimized, overnight. So as I wrap up this webinar today, I just leave you with the fact is that if you're not automating your whole application tuning process, I highly recommend that you reach out and set up a conversation with us to talk about how we can help your organization be able to add this as part of your overall cost optimization strategy. Because with Opsani, your organization will see a performance boost of your applications. You're going to see cost reduction, and you're going to see higher availability with Opsani as part of your overall strategy. And of course, we do that across your entire enterprise application stack. And so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this webinar. And I think that Amir is going to come on now, and I see that there's some Q&A, and we definitely want to make sure we get your questions answered. So thank you, and I look forward to speaking with you guys in the near future.
Well, thank you for that wonderful presentation, Amanda. It's really insightful, and thank you for taking the time. A few questions have come in, and I will read them in the order that we got them. Got them. So bear with me as I read through them. The first question is has to do with onboarding requirements. What sort of onboarding requirements do we have of customers for them to absorb Opsani into their infrastructure?
No, that's a really good question. I know I briefly touched upon it during the presentation, but in order for Opsani's machine learning backend to be able to work is that we have to be able to read the real-time metrics that describe the desired performance goal, and then be able to make runtime changes to those configurable parameters. So that's where the servo that I was talking about comes in, where it easily is able to be deployed into a customer's environment, and it's all open source, and it's really safe. And so I will add on that from like an onboarding perspective is that we do work across any kind of application structure. However, with our Kubernetes offering, we're able to really easily be able to get integrated into our customer's environment, to be able to see those performance metrics, and then be able to do those configuration changes.
Wonderful. So ability to see real-time metrics from the application and ability to configure workloads. That's pretty simple.
Yeah, no, it's very simple.
Okay, great. Okay, question number 2 that's come in. And I guess this person is a bit impatient, but rightly so, because their business imperative is to drive costs down as fast as possible. And the question is, how long does it take to see optimization results?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And we have a lot of customers that are asking that. When we're doing our free POC, we look at doing and optimizing a single service. And with the power of machine learning, we're able to get our customers results in a business day or less. Now, when we get into more sophisticated applications where there's multiple interdependent services, tuning does take around a week. But one of the things I will point out is that through our deep learning is that through each optimization process, our machine learning is learning the application, and we do see that time decrease.
Very well. Very well. Thank you so much. And a couple more questions have come in. And let me start with a challenging question that's coming, which is, what are the biggest challenges that Opsani faces when you talk to the customers? I mean, what sort of issues can customers anticipate when they're absorbing this?
Yeah, I know that's a really interesting question. I would say that our biggest challenge is the human one. We look at how organizations are structured. The application teams and the observability teams typically have different reporting structures. So as we're working with the application owner, we have seen in some instances that they need to take some time to figure out who their observability counterparts are. And then once they find that, then they're working together to find the right API endpoints and then learn what the variable names are. So once we determine who the core team is, then things really accelerate.
Okay, so I guess it's sometimes in a bigger organization, it's a bit of a coordinating act between people in order to get everything lined up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. That matches my experience having worked for some bigger organizations. Your enemy is not technology, it's figuring out who your teammate is. All right, and we go to the last question that's come in, which is, how are you different from other companies that say they do cloud optimization?
Yeah, and I think this goes back when I was talking about the tools from a cost optimization 1.0, and then really looking at Opsani as cost optimization 2.0 and how they complement each other. There are a lot of companies that are providing visibility into the actual like cloud spend, and then being able to find cheaper real estate. So we talk about like, finding recommendations, providing recommendations at the utilization level to be able to leverage cloud provider discounts such as AWS savings plans and RIs or Google sustained usage discounts. And what I will say is that we are the only company and solution on the market that has the ability to autonomously tune applications at scale, either for a single application or across the entire service delivery platform. And we're able to do that simultaneously and continuously. The other thing that's a huge differentiator for us, the fact that we can auto-discover the workloads as they're coming on board, and then be able to automatically deploy the SLOs to those applications, and then start the automation of that tuning process. So we're essentially removing all of the human component from the cost and performance optimization process for companies.
I am not aware of any other company that works at the scales that we do and does the auto discovery of services and the SLOs. I mean, basically, the holy grail being the autonomous data center. This is really the next step to getting the customer to react to workloads and tune them in the right way without having to do a lot of human intervention or a lot of guesswork.
Yeah, no, I think it's really exciting too, and just coming from AWS. And seeing that the power of Opsani and how we are incorporating Opsani customers are incorporating Opsani as part of their overall cost optimization strategy, is it really is helping customers save significantly more money because this problem just hasn't been addressed yet.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for this wonderful webinar, and I'm thrilled to be your teammate. Thank you for joining us. I think you bring a lot of expertise to the team, and let's go get them out there. Let's deliver the value that data centers and cloud workloads need.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.